Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Sagittarius for February 2016. Check out my website, anniehelpsyou.com, or click on the link below this video. You can see more about my astrology blog and my other blogs. And if you're interested in learning astrology, in February I will be opening registration for my astrology apprenticeship program. So check it out. What is going on in this wonderful month of February? We've got a very busy time astrologically. Most of the transits that are occurring actually in February are quite wonderful. We also have to place February in the rest of the year and show its importance for certain things compared to other months in the year. And we also have the influence of some events that are happening in a different month that are affecting us in February. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is the eclipses. I will be talking much more about the eclipses in the March report because that's when they actually occur. But we are in the realm in February of ripe, fertile ground for receiving news, information, events that are eclipse related. And eclipses are bringing life-changing information very often. Depending on how they're hitting off in your chart is often the degree to which the change is being implemented in your life. Sometimes you are the person that's holding space for other people who are going through great change. But at bare minimum, it brings in new opportunities and it brings closures and endings. So the solar eclipse on March 8th is at 18 degrees of Pisces, opening up new opportunities. New moon eclipses, the solar eclipses happen on the new moon, and they bring new moon, new energy in triplicate. So 3 times the energy of a new moon comes with a solar eclipse. So they're more powerful and they also their implications last longer. The lunar eclipse on March 23rd at 3 degrees of Libra is like a full moon in triplicate. Full moon, ending, completion, drama, sometimes happy emotional things, lots of emotion either way, endings, coming to fruition in triplicate. So we are in, as of the end of January, up to 6 weeks before the events, we can start to get this news that comes in. And it will often come in pieces. We'll get one piece and then there's a story that goes on. And often the story lasts up to 4 to 6 months. And sometimes the story is even longer than that for the whole eclipse cycle, which runs through 2017. So there's lots of different layers that eclipses go on. And we'll talk more about that in March, but in February, be ready for possibly life-changing news. If you have something happen that's life-changing, think eclipse because it's probably related. In general, eclipse time is not the best time to try to force things because eclipses are going to bring things that are going to be non-negotiable usually. You just have to do what the eclipse says. This is what life is like now, according to the eclipse. But we can't ignore that February is one of the best months of the whole year for actually taking action on some things. So we have our plan for ourselves, our agenda, and then we have the divine plan for us, which may laugh at our plan. And so you'll see how much you are on track in this period of time because February is a good time for you to try to move forward with your plan. And if it turns out that your plan is the divine plan, then you'll get a major boost and a major support there. If it turns out that your plan is not the divine plan, then it will get squashed like a little bug and the divine plan will come to fruition. And so your choice is, are you going to resist the change and still try to force what you thought you were going to do? Or are you going to embrace the divine plan? You know, so that's how you get to be involved in this, by doing your due diligence, taking forward motion just in case the things that you are planning and taking action on happen to be divinely supported. February is great for that. And if they're not, then you say, hey, all right, I guess I'm doing this now. For Sages, in a lot of ways, this is going to be much easier because Sages are mutable. They're flexible. You know, I'm a Sag too, and I have a lot of Sag in my chart, a very gross imbalance of Sagittarius in my chart. So we are very flexible. Sometimes to a degree that's not good for us even because we're like, okay, well, whatever, we'll do that. Okay, well, whatever, we'll do that. So that tendency that you have can be very helpful at eclipse time because it's easier for you to see something going a different direction and then say, oh, okay, I'm just going to flow this way now. You know, so keep that part of yourself activated at this time to help you have the easiest time. Something else is that Mars is going retrograde from April 17th through June 29th. This happens once every 2-ish years, and when it does, it slows down drive and ambition. Mars rules that assertive part of ourselves that gets stuff done. And if you're a Sag like me that is an overachiever and very ambitious and has a lot of energy and projects going on at once, Mars retrograde can actually be a wonderful time for you because you will want to sit down and not do anything more than usual. Now, I don't know about you, but it's very unusual for me to sit down for any extended period of time and not do anything. It's just, we are very physical people. Fire signs are very physical, and they have energy moves through them in a physical way. Their bodies just like to move. But when Mars is in retrograde, it takes the edge off of that. So you might feel like you're on a vacation. So knowing that that time is coming, this is a period of time where you can try to push some things through so that your finances will be supported, so that you have things in a forward movement of a sort before the energy starts to slow down. So even though Mars is going retrograde in April 17th, the shadow period starts in the middle of February. So in some way you would say, why, Annie, is February a great time for action, as you're saying it is, when half the month is covered with Mercury retrograde shadow period from the leftover energy from January when it was retrograde, and then the rest of the month is covered with shadow period from Mars. This is where the art of astrology really comes in, upon seeing those things superficially, you might say, I don't know if I would do anything at all. But if you look at the year, compared to all the other months, it's much better for doing things than a lot of the other months in the year. So if you have to do something, which usually we do, this is a month to do something. But again, you have to be flexible. And often things from the past will be more supported than brand new things. But if you do have brand new things that you've been waiting through January, then February is a fine month to launch those things. Okay, so don't be nervous. This is one of the better months throughout the year where you'll have more support, because Mars shadow period does start, but it doesn't start getting as intense as it will. And the eclipse energy usually gets more intense in the month that they happen. So this is that little window in between where there's some factors you're working with, but it's still better than most of the other opportunities you're going to have for the year. And it has quite a lot of support. So February 3rd, 8th, 9th, 10th, 13th. 3rd, 8th, 9th, 10th, 13th all have wonderful aspects. And there are some more nice aspects besides those days. They just happen to be aspects that are conducive to moving forward. Most of the beautiful aspects we have this month are 60-degree angles. 60-degree angles are ones that require your action to make use of the magic. It's kind of like you have 3 herbs in front of you. I'm thinking like Merlin, magical potion time. And you've got 3 herbs before you, and they're powerful. But if you put them all together into this tincture, then you make the magic. But them just in their loose, dry version of themselves, they're not really active. That is what these 60-degree angles are like. You have these magical things around, but unless you do something with them, they're not going to activate their full magic, which is totally different than a 120-degree angle. Whenever I talk about trines, those are ones that you can just lay down and not do anything, and everything will just come to you at that point without any action required. But this whole month, all these beautiful angles are ones that make you take action. That's why I'm calling this month Time for Action. It's just like this. The stars want you to do something, but they want you to do it with flexibility, So February 3rd, we've got 2 of these beautiful angles. Mars is at a beautiful angle to Pluto. We've had a lot of aspects with them not being in great combinations. So this is one that's really supportive to forward movement. And then we have the Sun in a beautiful angle to Saturn, which rules some beautiful long-term ventures and things like that. So even though Mercury doesn't get its full steam until February 15th, there's so many days in that time frame, the 3rd, 8th, 9th, 10th, 13th, that carry all this beautiful alchemical magic that you might want to do something with them. So then February 5th through 6th, we've got Venus, Pluto, and the Moon conjunct. Whew, that is intense. I don't even know what's going to happen there. We have Pluto that rules the underworld and deep emotional transformational things, birth, death, rebirth, transformation, the phoenix rising from the ashes. that sitting next to Venus, which rules love and beauty and money and aesthetics, conjunct the moon, which brings emotion. So that is all happening. And then Uranus comes and makes a square to Venus and the moon. I don't know what's going to happen there, but it's kind of intense. And I would just try to lay low around that time, see what comes in. There could be some jostling news. Eclipses also can bring jostling news, but that's of more of a longer term nature. This transit is more short term, so the jostling should be more short term. So if you get something that's a long term thing, it's probably also pulled into the eclipse energy, which lasts longer. So then we have, at the same time as this challenging aspect, we have the sun in another 60-degree angle to Uranus. So it's kind of like saying to Uranus, hey, lighten up, big guy, And that's the energy. Aquarius can be very laid back, and Uranus has this beautiful angle. It's kind of like soothing the beast, So it's possible that aspect can help soften the challenging squares that occur at that same time, hopefully. We also have another square. The sun is squaring Mars. And that could bring ego clashes or power struggles, things like that. And then at the same time, we still have the energy of the sun making the 60-degree angle to Uranus, but then we also have Venus making a 60-degree angle to Mars, saying the same thing, like, hey, just stay cool, just be calm. And so it's like every challenging aspect that actually happens in February has beautiful aspects alongside of it, kind of whispering to just be calm and to be sweet, So on February 8th, we have the new moon in Aquarius. This is going to take place in a different area of your chart depending on where your placement of Sagittarius is. So if you've listened to my reports before, I like to break things down into early, middle, and late degree. This is very relevant because the charts of the early, middle, and late degrees can look very different, especially the early and the late degrees. So if we don't break it up this way, then we're missing valuable information. So to figure out if you're an early, middle, or late degree placement of Sag, if your birthday is November 23rd through December 1st, you're in the early grouping. If it's from December 2nd through the 11th, you're in the middle grouping. If it's from the 12th through the 22nd, then you're in the late grouping. The same for your ascendant. If you're watching for your rising sign, the 0 through 9 degrees is early, and 10 through 19 is middle, and then 20 through 29 is late degree placements. So for you early degree placements, and some of you middle degree placements, the earlier part of the middle degree, you'll have this new moon in Aquarius, which is the Chinese New Year, which brings more power, in your third house. So this is new energy involving transportation, communication, things with siblings, cousins, relatives that are not your kids or parents, basically, those kind of relatives. Everyone else, step relatives and things like that. Could also be something like a writing project, writing, publishing, editing, things like that. Blogs, things like that are all in there. So if you're wanting to start a blog and you're a Saggy, then this new moon might be a great time to do that around February 8th, because we're right dancing in between all those factors that I was telling you about. And maybe this is your time. You're supported, especially you early and some of you middle degree placements. Even the rest of you middle and the rest of you late degree placements, doing something like that would be supported, because you have this new moon in the house of finances, which can bring in new streams of income. So it's more focused for you all with lines of money coming in, making yourself financially secure, something involving something of financial value. So then we have the full moon happening on February 22nd. And this full moon for you early and middle degree placements, it's going to be in the 9th house. The full moon for you late degree placements is going to be in the 8th house. But if you're on the line there, it could be between your 8th and 9th house, which means you could have it in both places. So you'll have fullness, completion, fruition coming in one of these two places. The first is the 9th house, early and middle, which is the house of Sagittarius. So it has to do with teaching and learning and broadcasting and publishing and writing and things like that. Very similar to the 3rd house. There's a lot of links there. They oppose each other in the chart and they have similar energy. So religious things, spiritual studies, long distance travel, different countries, different cultures, different languages, something new, or something coming to a fruition, ending there, or a completion, something emotional in one of those areas. The later degree placements that have this full moon in the 8th house could have something involving a close relationship with resources. Something's called other people's money. So a loan, something involving a loan, something involving credit, something involving debt, something involving spousal money or inheritances or something there is more likely to come up. So Jupiter is my favorite planet. I'm a Sag, I'm ruled by Jupiter. You are ruled by Jupiter too. Whether you have your moon or your sun or your rising sign as Sag, we are ruled by Jupiter. So whatever Jupiter's doing takes on more importance for us. And plus, it's usually super fun. Jupiter can bring challenges, but it can bring a lot of blessings. So I always very carefully track Jupiter in the charts. So in my astrology blog, check out my Jupiter blog. So you can see Jupiter moving through the different signs and the different houses, what are the things it can bring. For you early degree placements, you have Jupiter in your 10th house, which is expanding career and work and life purpose and your place in the world. The rest of you have it in your 9th house, which rules all of the Saggy stuff that we love, that I talked about before, teaching, learning, the 5,000 books you have on your end table, traveling and interacting with people from all different walks of life, and religious studies and philosophy and all of those things. So Jupiter is still expanding those sections, broadcasting, communication, prolific expression. Jupiter is still in that 9th house. But if your work, your career is related to 9th house stuff, you may be having a boost and expansion in your work stuff even before Jupiter gets to your workplace. So go to anniehelpsyou.com and do a search for my Jupiter blog and read the implications for the 10th house and the 9th house so that you know what you're working with there. So I can't see what's going on in your personal chart. I'd like very much to, if you'd like to have a personal reading, go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, click on coaching, and you can schedule a session that way. Or you can sign up for my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine, which is available on a sliding scale. And it's intended to help you shine and bring your shine out into the world. I've worked with thousands of people, helping them to push through their blocks and move to the next level of their experience. And the Shine program encapsulates so many of the things that I have used to help people to do that. So you have full access to all of that information there. And definitely check out my blogs. And if you're interested in learning astrology and you resonate with how I teach, then check out my astrology apprenticeship program that will be open for registration in February. I very often in this program will have people with a lot of Sag energy because they very much resonate with how I teach. So if you're one of them, then check that out. Maybe it's for you. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.